If I may, before we start, anniversary of 9/11, I'm sure at one time, the words the Pledge of Allegiance meant something to somebody. At this point in time, I think some of our leaders in the big house have forgot what those words are supposed to mean and actually care what they mean. So I'd like to take a minute out in remembrance of those who lost their lives at 9/11 prior to saying Pledge of Allegiance. Therefore, the words should mean something.
I agree. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What's your name, Tom?
All right, first on the agenda this morning is approve the minutes of September 5th as written.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by me.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
I'll second.
Seconded by McCurry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is miscellaneous motions. To rescind, upon request of Housing Authority Director, move to rescind the motion dated Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. Hugden moved upon the recommendation of Coffee County Housing Authority Board to authorize Director Chairman to sign real estate mortgage release, acknowledging satisfaction and full debt secured by Chad A. Tuttle and Rebecca L. Tuttle, east half of Lot 10, and all lots 11 and 12 in Block 177 in the city of Burlington, Coffee County, Kansas. Volume of pages and mortgage, which is a mute point to read, because we're resending it, so.
Mr. Chairman, these are items 4, 5, and 6 in the minutes from last week, so if that's just reference to those.
Okay. That'll work. So can we do a motion to resend all three of these
I think you better do them individually.
individually? Okay.
Somebody's going to want to read them. So the reason we spoke with you earlier is that there's been some information come forward to the Housing Authority that
Well, when they requested it, they believed that they qualified for outright release at this time. But they got more information about the closing sales and determined that it didn't qualify because it was for a profit within the 5-year soft mortgage period. So they'll resolve that and be back to have them released when they've dealt with repayment issues out of the closing.
I will move.
Second.
Moved by Knight, seconded by Hugden. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. The next one is, upon the recommendation of the Housing Authority Director, move to rescind the motion dated Tuesday, September 5th. Hugden moved upon the request of the Housing Authority Board to authorize Director Chairman to sign mortgage release acknowledging satisfaction of full debt secured by Lori F. Lloyd, lots 3 and 4 in Block 186, City of Burlington, Coffee County, Kansas.
I'd second that.
Moved by Hugden, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And third and final. On recommendation of the Housing Authority, moved to rescind the motion dated September 5th. Knight moved upon the recommendation of the Coffee County Housing Authority Board to move the authorized Director Chairman to sign real estate mortgage release acknowledging satisfaction of full debt secured by Joyce A. Winery
I
lots,
believe.
lots 1 and 2 in block 161 in the city of Burlington, Coffee County, Kansas.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Hugutin, seconded by Meeks. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. That ends our miscellaneous motions. We will go to 9:05, in Powerhouse Ministries, Melissa Landis. You're up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll be pretty brief this morning, but I really, anytime we've got good news, I think we need to come back and share, right? So quick refresher on Empower House. What we know is most addicts, they relapse when they're living in the same drug-infested environment in which they weren't living clean in, right? So we provide a recovery residence currently for female drug addicts to help them get up and on their feet, ensure that they are involved in addiction treatments, at curfews, following rules, in compliance with the courts, getting employed. As you can see, it's pretty comprehensive. So one of the things we've been working on since August of last year is we as a board voted to move forward with the men's house, and I just wanted to come back and let you know that we found the house. Ironically, on August 23rd, we were scheduled to make that official decision to rent with a 3-year lease with a 2-year option to buy. And wasn't exactly sure where the funding was coming from, but, you know, that's kind of irrelevant. You do it anyway, right? That morning, I received notification that we received a $200,000 grant, part of which goes towards the down payment on that house. So about October 15th, right, we're still working through it. We've got a rough timeline. October 15th, I will be able to provide housing and the same services to men, and that is any gentleman from Lyon or surrounding counties. Most of them are involved in the courts or with the courts, and probably their average income, I'm thinking for men, is going to be about $7,000 in the last 12 months. So, any questions? I just wanted to share good news on a Monday.
Is that in there for you?
Huh?
Is that in there for you?
Yes, sir. Ironically, I lived in this house back in the late 80s. It was a big old 2-story that was split top and bottom, and now they've merged it back into one house. It's 5-bedroom, 2-bath. Our capacity will be 9.
I was gonna ask you capacity.
Capacity will be 9. I call it a 4.5 bedroom because one of those bedrooms is really small, and that works well because the City of Emporia has zoning requirements. Recovery residences are treated a little bit differently than a normal resident. City says we can have up to 10. So I'll have 9 and a couch position just for those emergencies. In the ladies' house, I've used it once in 18 months when I had somebody coming in, but somebody wasn't leaving, so there was about a 4-day overlap. Because living on a couch is not healthy, right? But I can do it for 4 days. So anyway, just wanted to share the good news. Any questions, any thoughts, any concerns?
This is both pre and post conviction.
Yes, yes. Currently, every one of the 9 ladies that we have, well, I just got a new one. 8 out of our 9 are on some form of corrections. Most of them have been sentenced, but not always, right? A lot of them will have ongoing cases. I think our record is somebody that had cases, whether they were active cases, meaning not yet sentenced, or probation in 4 separate counties, right? These folks are pretty busy. So, and from their perspective, you know, imagine waking up one day and saying, today's the day I am going to change my entire life. Number 1, how do you do that? And number 2, how do you address all of your back court issues and come into a compliance and the fines? A lot of them really struggle with paying their fines. I mean, my daughter, as an example, had $23,000 that she had to come up with, in addition to all the other trouble that she was in. So it's pretty common that they've got to work through those fines. But we do work with them on budgeting. Coming up this weekend, we have a life skill clinic again. Our focus this weekend are bringing in 3 speakers. We are doing budgeting basics. Second speaker is paying debt and building savings. And then the third speaker is myself. I've never had to speak before. And we are doing a budgeting simulation where we're literally going through Sally's situation and how do we adjust the budget for January. Then this happens, what do we do with February and March? So, any other questions, gentlemen?
One of the important things, and I think for the public to know, they hold each other accountable, and that's the model where at least from the feedback I've heard on the prosecutor side, is that makes a big difference where they're holding each other accountable, whether it be to not go out and do things, to have curfew to meet their job. Look, can you maybe describe or talk about that for just a minute?
Yeah, let's talk about employment, because I think employment's a big piece, right? If we're going to become self-sufficient at some point in the future, we've got to have a job. But how do you get a job when you have a felony? And how do you get a job when you were fired from your last 3 jobs because you were arrested and suddenly you found yourself in jail? So we work with them, do a lot of resource referrals. And we've actually boosted our programs so that we are increasing our rental collection rates, because if you let them slide, they will. The board doesn't even know this yet, but last month I collected $1,900 in rent, which offsets, roughly speaking, a $3,000 a month operation. So that's part number 1. Part number 2 is we are heavily involved with the courts, with probation officers. We really stepped up our programs there. So I am literally in contact with probation, community corrections, parole officers probably almost every single day, so that they are always kept abreast of what's going on. And sometimes the courts are actually one of our best benefits, right? Because they've got teeth that sometimes I don't always have. And what was the third part of your question? Oh, accountability. And then on accountability side, we're doing pretty well there. I mean, we're doing curfew checks. I can tell you right now, if I look at my phone, who last walked in that front door and who violated curfew last night. I can see all of that. I've got the cameras in the house. We've got, again, the probation side. They're probably there. Community corrections is probably there 3 times a week doing a curfew check. And when they do that curfew check, they also do breathalyzers, right? So we're making sure that there's no issues there. And then the courts, depending on their level of probation, they may be subject to, most of them are on correction, so they're subject to drug testing 3 times a week, 3-4 times a week at random. And then we come in behind. If the courts aren't involved, we'll do that drug testing as well, so that they've got that accountability. As far as peer support, that has been huge. And you'll find that we keep tweaking our policies to make them just a little bit better. So, for example, it was our intent, but our policy didn't say it. Anybody that's coming to that house has to have 30 days clean and sober. And they have to have approval from the probation officer and approval from the house. The other policy change that we made is they are not allowed to ride in a vehicle with anybody that doesn't have 90 days clean, right? And probably another part of that is they are attending NA meetings, usually NA, could be AA, 12-step meetings at least 3 times per week. That is verified, so that we know that they're getting access to the treatment that they need. Most of them are involved in what they call IOP, which is intensive outpatient treatment. And that may involve literally going to treatment 5 days a week, 3 hours a shot. Plus individuals, give them access to trauma therapy, a lot of trauma, as well as mental health. They're using, and we require that, right? If there's any form of mental health issue, you got to take some meds, if that's what Crosswinds says you need. And you got to hit your therapy appointment. So really focus in on that holistic, comprehensive, because recovery from active addiction is not just merely saying, well, today's the day I'm not going to use any more drugs. It's an entire lifestyle that really encompasses it. So, because when you look at their peer groups, and that's a huge issue, is that peer group. Everybody they associate essentially is addicts. So how do you wake up one day and not associate with the people you were associating with yesterday, make those new connections? And oftentimes we find that family has said enough, right? I've tried, I've done everything I can do. And so a lot of the family tends to keep their distance as well.
For the family was how they've been raised that's the way they were raised their whole life, and they're part of the problem.
I've got some young ladies at the house, I've got 2, I believe, that are forbidden by the courts and by Empower House for having contact with family.
Right. Sad.
And so it is, but they got to do what they got to do. And I always tell them on the family side, this is what you got to do today, right? At some point you can make the choice on what's safe or what's healthy for you. And you may decide that ultimately that family relationship will never be healthy for you, and that's okay. But you got to put yourself first, and that means disregarding family, right? Disregarding whatever children you may have, and focus on yourself so that you can get your life together, and that's really what Empower House is about.
The majority of the people you deal with, their drug of choice is
Meth. Almost always meth. In the 18 months we've been operational, I had two, actually both of them are with me right now. I have 2 alcoholics, but the rest are drug users, and it is meth, and more meth. And they'll use something else, right, but that's their drug of choice. So as long as meth is available, that's what they prefer. And the more I learn just how devastating it is, right? Particularly with meth. What you find is, and I don't understand all the science behind it, but you've got the happiness sensors, the dopamine in your brain, and meth basically turns those off. So even if they're living right, and it can take up to a year before that recovers, even if they're living right and doing everything that they're supposed to be doing, at least initially, the brain's not even able to recognize that joy and that happiness, because they've got too much overstimulation, if you will, on the dopamine side. So it's amazing just how deep it runs. So, and that's why those programs have to be so
It
comprehensive.
takes about a year for them to come out of that,
Yeah, and they say up to a year. In my experience, looks like it's a couple months. And you just see this zoned out look, right? No matter what's going on, they're just lacking that joy. And it's a physical impossibility with the way their brains have been almost rewired temporarily. So, see a lot of tears, and I tell them all that's just par for the course, right? Because all those emotions that you had that you were supposed to be having, you haven't dealt with. And so, yeah, now it's front and center. So a lot of tears. I'm anxious to see how that works with the gentleman. But I still work with gentlemen now outside of Empower House, and yeah, I see lots of tears, even on the man's side. So.
Once these individuals are out of, I don't know what the right word is, through the program, how many of them go back to the meth? I'm sure you've got percentages.
I do. I've got some numbers. For those that have a stay of less than 50 days, a third, which is still not that bad. For those that have a stay of over 50 days, 2/3.
2/3 will stay clean?
2/3. So, and that is phenomenal.
So that shows the extra few days is time well spent.
Yeah, and really what you find is if somebody's only with us for, let's say, 10 days, the last one, I've got one that 2 months ago was with us for 10 days. What's our impact there? Probably not much. And in her case, the reason why she left is she could return home to her parents' house where they didn't have curfews, right? They didn't have all these restrictions. And so it was easier. So I'd argue that there's 2 points to that. Number one is that sincerity level just isn't there. And when it just gets too hard, well, let's just go back. It's easier that way. So I think that's a lot of it. And then when you look at trying to change an entire lifestyle, literally everything, right? They say in NA you only have to change one thing. And that thing is everything, literally, right? People, places, and things. So, I mean, you've got to replace everything. And so it's a lot of challenge. But yeah, 2/3 for those that are with us 50+ days. So, and we've got those success stories. Our house leader is one of those. I think she's pretty open as far as what I can share, but, you know, a long 20-year drug history. Her drug habit was supporting her household of 9 extended family members, and they lived for years without electricity. Right, and so it's a family trait, if you will, in their household, but the family is now coming up through her as well. So, a lot of impact. I was actually doing some numbers last night for the 9 ladies that we have in-house right now. I have 24 minor children that are represented. And some of those are often in state custody, but we are seeing parents that reunite with their children. But it takes a long time before the courts say, I see there's progress. So they've got a lot of ground to make up and a lot to prove. But We provide them with all the resources and support that they need to get there. Whether they get there or not, that's their choice.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it.
Correct, correct. And we find that those that aren't a good fit, they last less than 30 days, right? It's hard. It's hard having somebody tell you, your curfew's 10 o'clock tonight and you will be here. And it's hard having somebody say, really? You lost your job 7 days ago, you don't have another one to replace that, you're on restriction, right? So you'll be sitting right here until you choose to get a job. So it's hard. It's hard, it's super challenging, but they either rise to the occasion or they don't. But we provide them with the resources so they have the opportunity. So men coming soon, super excited. We do have a men's house leader. I have known this gentleman for about 5 years. He was actually using when I first met him, and I wasn't even thinking about becoming a pastor when I first met him. And so it's been very good to watch him grow, and vice versa, I'm sure. So a lot of things have changed in our world, and that's our men's house leader. So, and he's got about 4 years clean and sober, was involved with NA, and was actually I think the regional chair. I don't follow. He was in charge of Emporia and then was involved in the regional NA activities. So, super powerful story behind him, and he beat addiction. And now, as they say in NA, shares the message with others, carries the message to others. So, any other questions?
I admire what you do, so
Yeah, very
continue, good luck.
It's well worth it, right? You have to keep your eyes focused on those success stories. Because if I look at the failures, I can get pretty sad pretty quick. Got to keep your eye focused on those success stories and what you can do today to make a difference in a year. So, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for what you
Thank you
do.
very much.
I got a lot to do. Whole house to furnish. Good news is I got all the structure, and just wanted to let you all know, if we haven't let you know before, we appreciate you all investing in us a couple years, 2 years ago, and making Empower House possible. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good luck to you.
Good news, a lot of good news. 9:20, Goldberg, Sydney.
Good
Goldberg,
morning, everybody.
Good morning.
River City, Sheriff.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right, hi, everybody. So we're just here to give a project update on the LEC. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the drawings, then I'll hand it over to Joe to talk about budget, schedule, next steps. So after we issued the 90% set on August 10th, we stepped back, looked at the project as a whole, and we decided to add some bid alternates to the scope of work. So these will give us some options, assuming the project is bid, just to give further flexibility on the budget, to give you all options, to ensure we're hitting numbers you all want to hit. We have a great path to under 30 million, but this is further flexibility beyond that. All of those options were checked with Sheriff Johnson, with Wade, with appropriate parties to make sure it was okay with them, and we can run through what some of those are. So that would include the option to change some of the individual cells to dorm-style housing in a couple of pods. It includes things like taking tile out of bathrooms, backsplashes, if that would, create more value for the county, if that's where you all want to focus your project dollars. Some of it's just common sense stuff that River City helped us find, like there's one change in how the foundation hits the structure that saves a little bit of money, so just some common sense changes like that. So that being said, last Friday we did issue our 100% set of drawings. They're in River City's hands, just going through a final check, and then we will get them distributed to you all. So it includes kind of the base bid, which is the simplified product, and then the bid alternate that would allow you all to round out the scope as you see fit for the county. Any questions on the drawings before we switch over to numbers and timeline? Okay, Joe?
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Joe.
So like Cindy said, we received 100% drawings last week. What we're doing right now is we're putting together all the bid packages to have this out for bid this Thursday September 14th. We look at doing a pre-bid meeting on September 26th, with the bids being due on October 12th. So that basically is a 4-week period of bidding. Right now, this is just for the law enforcement center. This is just for the phase 1. The renovation phase is currently being designed right now, but this is just for the phase 1 law enforcement center. What we'll do is we'll advertise not only through our smart bid system, we'll also advertise it through the county's website and procurement site. And hopefully, with everything that's going on right now, we get some competitive numbers and get this out to bid.
So you're expecting to have, the bids will be in by October 12th, start today?
Yes. Yep. And what we'll do is we'll do a public bid opening for that.
How many bids do you expect to come in?
If we have the same kind of results that Osage County had, you could see anywhere between 2 and 5 bidders on each one of these packages. And what we're really hoping for is the big 5, to get a lot of numbers on that one: mechanical, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and then the masonry as well. Those are the big ones we really need to hit and have a lot of coverage on.
So you've got bids coming on specific parts of this jail?
Yeah, so
There's not one general contractor over the whole thing, and he reaches out?
So a construction manager puts this out into bid packages. So we're essentially kind of taking on that role. You'll have an electrical contractor. You'll have, all these different trades.
Well, I figured we'd have them, but I thought it might be under one general contractor.
It would be under the construction manager, which is
Somewhat
us.
it is, somewhat it is.
Yes,
You're the construction manager.
correct.
Yes.
Yep. So all the contracts would be held with us. We'd be in charge of having the superintendent, the project manager, to manage the site for you guys.
Breaking ground November, maybe.
It would probably be about, middle of November. Yep.
Just in time for the holidays.
Some time for it to get cold.
I don't have any questions. I mean, sounds like we're still moving forward and the numbers are coming closer together. And I'll reiterate, 30 million or under, preferably under.
Yep, absolutely.
Good. Would sure like to have some slack for some changes that have to be made along the way. You're sure gonna have some.
Yeah.
I believe I put in on that meeting, that's why he has the alternates in there. Who would come in at 28 million, that they can add these things back into the package to.
These changes they're gonna make.
Correct.
And any like GMP, guaranteed maximum price we're talking about includes a contingency for things to things that go wrong along the way, because there will be little things that pop up. But then anything that's left in that contingency at the end goes back to the county, is applied to, whatever you all want on phase 2, but it does include a contingency.
Now, on the tile you said in the bathrooms, now this is in like the bathroom,
The public facing.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was.
Yes, just to clarify.
Just trying to throw out there,
Nothing in the secured area.
Concrete, good.
Yes, absolutely.
I just wanted to make that clear for YouTube land.
Absolutely, yes.
Tom, I see you're sitting back there, and I know you've worked on this probably 7/24 to make some changes in it so it'll get down below the 30. Everything's coming together as good as you think it should, and something that's very workable for the sheriff's department.
Yep. We're under 30 million, so made some cuts last week, and it's all worked out, so. Ready to see the bid packages and get some people in there to get a bid, so I think we'll be fine.
Good. It's the main goal. Get what you need, what you would like. It's better than what we got. And it's under what the voters wanted.
Absolutely.
Very well.
I don't know if there needs to be an approval on that, but we're anticipating on this going out to bid on Thursday, if that's fine with you guys.
Wait, do we have to approve anything to go to bid, go out for bid?
I don't think so
Okay.
at this point, because once the bids come in, then that's when you have to figure out whether you agree or not. And I don't think you know what those numbers are until what the bids come in.
Correct. And so just for you guys, for the knowledge of the next steps, we'll have the bids due on October 12th, and basically those will be read out loud. We'll know exactly what numbers we have, and then for the next 2 weeks after that, we'll do a scoping review. And so we'll go through all the low bidders, we'll talk about what they have, confirm they have the scope, and then we would write letters of recommendation to the county to proceed with the GMP. So that's kind of the next steps over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
The 100% plans, when will they be presented so they can make a decision on those plans?
So we have those in hand right now. We're gonna put our bid packages with those drawings and specs, and those will all be ready on Thursday.
We can distribute the plans without the bid packages now for preliminary internal review, just before they go public. So I'll send that out right after the meeting, to all of you.
I don't have any questions. Anybody else?
You said groundbreaking would be mid-November?
Mid-November, yeah. We could actually do it the 1st of November.
Well, I'm sure you could.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate all the time that's been spent on this project, and it sounds like it's ready to move ahead, so.
It's finally getting there.
It just took a while to get there, but
Oh, yeah.
we're not that, doesn't appear like it'll be that far behind schedule.
Oh, we should be fine.
Joe, will you be reaching out to the school and the city to keep them apprised of what's happening, especially the school?
Yeah, I think
Because that will change things dramatically in that parking lot where they
Oh, yeah.
drop off and pick up.
Yep.
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll follow up with the county just for help on publicizing those dates as well, right? Okay, all right, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week, let it rain.
Yes,
A lot.
absolutely.
That's when it'll take off raining as soon as you break ground.
Yeah. The coldest winter on record, you know.
So if you'll give me 1 minute.
Yeah, come on.
So, OK Kids, which was this past weekend, had record numbers. We had 550 kids walk through the front gate. We had over 100, about 102, I think, kids fishing. That was about 30 more than we had last year. Unbelievable successful, great group of kids, parents, campsites were all full. Again, your donation is greatly appreciated. If you have not seen 550 kids down there having fun, laughing, the kids that are catching 2-inch perch think they're the size of a whale, you know. It is unbelievable, the things that go on for these kids, the things we put on. The number of people that volunteer for this, there's no way we can do this without all the volunteers and all the people that come out to help. And we can't say thank you enough to the commission and to the public and everybody that helps us, but it was a huge success this year again, as always, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, glad it was a good turnout.
Yeah,
My
great
daughter
turnout.
said she showed up down there, and it was wall-to-wall people.
Yeah, great weather, you know, no rain, thank goodness at that time. But it was just a great weekend for the kids, so just say thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Take care.
A little work, see you guys later.
Have a good week.
Thanks, Joe.
Well, now we got a break till 9:50. We got some checks and vouchers to sign. Bobby, you have anything for us this morning? We can go through and do that, can't we?
Well, we finally hooked up with Commissioner Brown Thursday. Got his proclamation. You know, he seems like a fairly busy kid. I bet his mind's just going
150-mile-an-hour.
Has to be. But, yep, just thought I'd throw that out there, sorry. He just texted me at like 10 o'clock Thursday morning, would 10:45 work? I was like, sure. So, we just hooked up and did it. Marty was there from the paper, and Angie got ahold of whoever she could, and, got her done.
Good deal.
Big
Mission
hit was in the
accomplished.
schools, all those kids. Big hit was with the schools and all the kids.
Yeah, he went to middle school and went through
Ate
there.
lunch with them, saw all those pictures, which not many places get that, especially in an area like this. You get an NBA player, even a successful college player, but an NBA player, NBA champion with deep ties to this area, I mean, that's pretty special.
Yep. Seemed fairly humbled by it all too as well, and communicating with him, he was just, I mean, I don't know, just very humble young man, and pleasure to meet him.
Hasn't forgotten the roots that he come from.
I don't think so.
It's good.
Yeah, pretty focused.
A lot of them lose focus on where their background was.
He said he appreciated us all, and, good time to mention it, so I thought I would. Yep.
Very good. Thanks for meeting with him.
Yep.
Wade, before I forget it, have you done any more thinking on that text message I sent you last Tuesday?
We'll have to have a conversation to circle back and
Okay.
remind me.
Problem is me remembering to circle back to remind you.
I'll remember.
But now it's on him, right?
See how you threw it back on me?
Yeah. Maneuver.
Yeah. Is Joe close? I wouldn't mind starting with him just as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure there's gonna be a
Oh, yeah.
hand grenade of questions. So,
He was in Garnett about 20 minutes ago.
yeah, I'll be getting close.
I dared our county attorney to wear his Detroit shirt again this morning.
I've got a Lions tie I was gonna wear, but September 11th took priority.
Understood.
But I will say, go Lions.
They played a heck of a game.
Now,
Of course, they didn't really have a lot of, could have had the cheerleaders on, I guess, maybe it might have done a little better, but,
gotta catch the ball.
yeah, gotta catch the ball. Gotta play football.
But for Detroit, that's a big deal.
K-State had a whopper of a game, KU played a whopper of a game, both the Kansas teams played very well, other than the Missouri Chiefs.
At least the Bengals got looked.
Yeah, yeah. Old high-paid. Yeah.
Good opening.
And I thought there was gonna be a decent game last night, but anything but.
Was it Dallas last night? Yeah. I didn't watch it. I started watching it.
They were up 26 to nothing at halftime.
Halftime, yeah.
And ended up winning, what, 40 to nothing?
Oh. Who was they playing?
The Giants.
The Giants overruled them. Giants whooped them, or Dallas whooped the Giants.
They had no answer for that defense.
Well, Dallas was pretty good last year.
Parsons was everywhere. One man record crew.
2 turnovers that got Dallas off to a pretty good start.
There was a pick six that reminded me of the pick six in the Chiefs Lions game. Just went off of
Bit bounced off.
Saquon Barkley and popped up in there right into Dallas defenders' hands and ran it right in.
I'll be there.
Yep.
I'd rather be lucky than good any day, right?
Oh, yeah.
Notice this one, everyone in the parking lot on the side of the court now. No vehicle. It was open.
Good.
Augie, you might be able to answer my question. Is the county acting as a pass-through for these grants from like the USDA? That's what I was thinking, a lot like the building downtown from, I can't think of the lady's name. Just a pass-through, the county's fronted the money from the governmental, and then we roll it over to SSM.
Yes, sir.
You're thinking of Danielle Burke.
Yes, Danielle, yeah, I can't never remember her name.
So do we gotta have a receipt for that? I mean, do we divvy it out that way, or you just like, here's a check?
When you're paying,
SSM, the money from the,
Danielle, because hers is specifically
hers was-
designated for HVAC and whatever.
yeah,
So I don't know, I've yet to see if this is
Is this
designated.
the same?
I'm not real familiar with that downtown building stuff. Just frankly, I don't know. But with the USDA SSM stuff, you will bid out, the county technically will bid out the construction of the road and the water improvements. And you'll manage the project, and the funds will come through the county, and you'll have receipts. You'll be essentially acting as the developer for the roadway.
That was my meeting, yeah, okay. So it's actually coming to the county for the SSM project.
Yes, sir. They're paying the match, essentially. And they receive some benefit too. I mean, they're getting the value out of this grant too.
Oh, sure. It just gets a little pretty confusing at times.
Yeah.
And all this paperwork shoved through the email on Friday afternoon, and
Which I sat down and read quite a bit of it. That, I mean, I understand 100% of it, but. Takes 10 minutes.
yeah, they're still signing vouchers.
We go through the session to do that.
Yep.
Brad, here's a voucher for little over 6,500 for Postal City.
They're ready for you whenever you go. They'll start.
It says price per sheet, 59 cents. This is not for stamps. You know what this invoice might be for?
Wade, do you know that? Postal City.
Postalosity or something like that.
Yeah.
Postal hostility from Wichita.
You
Got a
submitted it.
voucher for a little over 6,500, and I don't think any of it's for stamps, and I don't think it's for the machine.
Whose voucher is it? Who submitted it?
I'm sorry?
Who submitted the bill, what department?
It says, Courthouse General. We probably had something like that every year, but I don't remember it either, but.
This is, looks like Richard Kroll's initials. It probably has to do treasure tax mailing is what it's for. Approximate mail date, November 1st to December 15th, 2023. So, I think it has to do with taxes for the treasurer's office, but it's not anything I signed.
Chances are we've got something probably got something like that annually, but I just.
Yeah, it looks like it's in a house account.
Might be like a postage prepaid thing.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was.
Yep.
Probably should just get an envelope to kind of put stamps on the running through the machine.
Yeah, it's automatic.
They made that, we used to be able, sending out mail ballots, we have a permit where we will only have to pay for the ones that actually came back. But they raised the cost of that permit so much that just the permit costs more than we would spend on postage. So we just buy postage.
Sorry, I'm running late.
You're not running late.
We're going on break now.
We're gonna take a quick break.
Okay, good.
As soon as they get through the paperwork, we'll take a quick break and then I wanted to get to you as soon as possible.
Okay.
That whole bunch goes in there. So, we've gotta leave at 10:30 for Employee Appreciation Day picnic, and so I don't think it's gonna be 10:30, but I wanna try to hit it as soon.
It wouldn't take an hour. It's not gonna take an hour to set up. And they're not to eat till 11:30, so.
Well, I don't know if they need warmers down there to start warming things up, or if that warmer is just for hot dogs and hamburgers, or if it's for baked beans, or what it's for.
How you doing, Joe?
I'm great. How's everybody doing this morning? Just got in last night. This is a complicated deal, so I was trying to study for it, but we'll get to it.
We'll take a quick break and come back in, give us till, what? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Take a 5-minute break, real quick.
Pretty good. You were with,
Yeah, we met. Hey, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
You got some sun.
All right, we're back after a big quick break. P-Tech Rock Joe, Serrano, you're in it.
Yeah.
Sorry, brain clouds.
That's all right. Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman. I was visiting with the county attorney, and I think because this is dealing with negotiations of a contract, it may be beneficial to go into executive session to just talk about some of the things that I think Mr. Skipper has already vetted with you, but I want to make certain that you guys have an understanding as to the development agreement, which is a contract between the developer and the county. So, but I may need a little bit of time. I want to make certain that you have a full understanding as to the financing. So, 30 minutes or more may be warranted in this instance.
County attorney and Skipper and you, or?
Yeah.
I would highly advise and even ask that Greg Barnberg is integral to the financial discussion.
That's what we were just talking about. Well, let's start with the motion to go into executive session under the attorney-client exception to the Open Meetings Act for 30 minutes, myself, the board, Joe, Bobby, and then where it gets a little tricky, and this is where Joe and I were talking, is we want to make sure not to breach the attorney-client relationship by bringing in someone else. So I think Joe and I are of the same opinion, at least for right now.
Yeah, and Greg, if I may, I know you have some information that's essential for kind of where we are associated with the USDA loans, the CDBG grant, the red leg provision. Maybe I can get that information and relay it to the commissioners if that's okay. If that's okay.
We just don't want to breach the attorney-client relationship by bringing in a third party.
Because he's for SSN.
No,
Not necessarily.
he's a municipal advisor to the county. But he also, Greg and Raymond James, you're the placement agent for the bonds.
I'll still move. Moved by Meats, 30 minutes.
Yep. And it's specific to, for ongoing contractual negotiations.
Negotiations of a contract with the county and the developer.
I'll second. Moved by Meats, second by McCurry. Any discussion? What time are you entering in? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll enter in at 10 o'clock, I guess. Yeah, 10 o'clock. There's a lot of people that's gotta get down there.
We'll come back at
10:30, for 30 minutes. We're not gonna make our 10:30.
Still wet.
It needs to start raining a lot harder than it is.
Let's do that for a month.
Yeah, we might get an inch.
I'm not, I think there will be maybe some summary discussion based on the executive session, but I'll turn it over to Joe.
Yeah. Once again, Joe Serrano, QTech Rock, Special Counsel and Bond Counsel to the county. So, before you this morning are several documents. I want to specifically address the development agreement, because the development agreement provides the contract between the county and the developer. Everything else that is associated with the other documents really are ancillary and follow along the development agreement. There are a few items that remain open in the development agreement that need to be finalized. And I'm going to have to ask Mr. Barnberg in a bit as to what happens if we actually table this until next week. But as you may know, the county cannot levy special assessments against themselves. We first have to convey the property to the developer. The developer is Secure Semiconductor Manufacturing LLC, which is a Kentucky limited liability company. We cannot convey that property unless we have a public hearing. The public hearing is scheduled for next Monday. There are a few holes in the documents. One includes the project budget. One includes what are the infrastructure improvements. One includes the performance milestone. We have an idea of what the performance milestones will be, which is sometime in the summer of next year. The development agreement provides right now that we would convey the property no later than September 30th, 2023, the end of this month.
So we could table these items today for consideration until after the public hearing next week, when we have the authority, presumably have the authority to convey the property to the developer. Notwithstanding that, if you take consideration of the resolution today, there is a hole on the project budget. I can tell you it's estimated about $20 million of the overall project budget, but we don't have that. We've asked for the developer to provide that information. The resolution levying special assessments is contingent upon the conveyance of the property. So the resolution is not even effective. If you take action today, it's not even effective until what happens next week. So at least, and I don't know the implications for these lenders that are, as I mentioned, this is only a component portion of the overall financing. But, and there are some holes in the documents that need to be filled in. But I can represent to you that these are substantially final form. I think we're in a substantially final form, but I don't think they're ready necessarily to be fully executed. But I want to make certain that Mr. Varnberg, who's been involved with a lot of the discussions associated with the developer and the lenders associated with the Red Leg and the B&I loans, has an ability to tell, has an ability and can articulate what's going on with those loans. Notwithstanding, we're still waiting on the appraisal and the feasibility study. So, if I may.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Commissioners.
Morning.
Fred Varnberg with Raymond James. We're serving as placement agent for the SSM project. And as you probably know, the plan of finance has several moving parts. We have the USDA Business and Industry Loan Program. We have the USDA Red Leg Loan Program, the CDBG grant and loan kind of tied together. And then we have the County Community Improvement District bonds. And so the simple answer to the question of would a delay by 1 week impact the timing? No, that doesn't create any problems for us. And if that works better for the commission, that is perfectly fine. Our biggest challenge here lately with 4 or 5 different components of the plan of finance is getting everything coordinated to where it can be closed simultaneously. At one point we were aiming towards the end of September. But I think the appraisal and the feasibility study for the B&I loan program, those are the 2 pieces that are out of our control as far as timing, and they're in motion, but we don't know exactly when those will be put in place. If I had to guess, the closing for these financings is probably going to slip into the first part of October. So 1 more week to take time, if that helps you review the development agreement and fill in some blanks, that's perfectly fine from our perspective.
So on the grants from the other entities, does SSM have to own the property before they can go after the grants? Is that, because I know when we was looking at property for the big chip manufacturing, you had to own property before you could apply for this grant to put this on. So do they actually physically have to own the property before they can go after these grants?
It will be a condition at closing, but it doesn't have to be a condition to pursue the grant. That's all in motion, and everything that we have seen and heard, that is, we were able to provide a couple of documents that they needed about 7 to 10 days ago, and I think that's all that we need here on the CDBG. But the land needs to be conveyed prior to closing, because obviously the lender for the B&I loan program doesn't want to have a building sitting on land that the company doesn't own.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's probably where the conveyance of land becomes critical, is closer to that closing date.
There's been a lot of information thrown at us. I think I would have loved to seen this last week and then acted on it this week personally, in my personal opinion. But if the commission feels knowledgeable enough to move forward or to put it off till next Monday, I guess that's the question at hand.
you know, with our executive session that just took place, and with a huge amount of update information, you know, if they don't hurt anything to put it off, I'd have no problem putting it off, but the other side of it is, I'm not sure we know any more a week from now than what we know right now.
That's my question, Dawn.
I'm not sure we'll gain any more. You know, we received a lot of information, you know, in our last 30-minute session, but I wouldn't have any problem at all moving ahead, Mr. Chairman.
My thing for the public is, you know, through the discussion in the executive session, probably the worst case scenario, the county's at limbo for approximately $1 million. Worst case scenario, is that right?
That's correct.
So, upfront money.
Yeah, may I interject? As I mentioned to you, there are some holes in the development agreement. The resolution that levies the special assessment has a blank in there for the project costs. I think we should be able to iron that out, and if it's not a problem, and for us to get it in final form, then we could bring it back next week. If you want to move forward today, I think you're still going to have to ratify an action that modifies the documents that are that will be filled in. So if you decide to move forward with the resolution, there are 3 resolutions for consideration and then an oral motion. The oral motion is to approve the development agreement in substantially final form. The resolutions are a resolution levying the special assessments. Again, those are contingent, that resolution is contingent upon us conveying the property to the developer. Right now, it's September 30th. We may move that date depending on the financing, but it clearly has to be conveyed prior to closing. Then there are 2 resolutions associated with the bonds. One is the Series 2023A bonds, and one is a resolution for the 2023B bonds. That resolution authorizes the sale of those bonds, prescribes the form of the bonds, and also there are some additional documents that are associated with that, including an investment and disbursement agreement, a paying agent agreement, and an investor letter that effectively provides that the buyer understands what they're purchasing. So those documents, if you want to move forward, I think it would be incumbent upon me to at least discuss those documents, because we did not discuss those documents, or I'm happy to be back here next week to go over the particulars associated with those documents if you prefer. Whatever your preference, serve your pleasure.
So the document at hand is the development agreement.
The development agreement that's one action. I think I did not prepare a resolution, and the oral motion would be that you approve the development agreement in substantially final form. However, I think we would be back here next week saying you ratify the modifications of the development agreement. And that will fill in some of the exhibits that are still blank.
Mr. Hugan, did you have something to say?
Well, again, I did spend some time reading over the weekend. Not going to pretend I understand 100%, but I do trust Joe Serrano and Greg and Wade Bowie to help us make an educated, as best as we can, educated decision. I have total faith in all 3 of you. So with that being said, I mean, Wade, do you have any, I want to hear.
I don't like seeing blanks that aren't filled in.
That's
and
where
I
I'm at.
understand where Joe's coming from. Next week, he'd be coming back to fill in the blanks, which to me doesn't make sense. If the blanks can be filled in, to bring the final version of that document before the board to review and approve, instead of coming back and all it does is, if somebody wants to come back and review what was done, they'll have to go to 2 different meetings, review 2 different meetings, 2 sets of minutes to figure out what happened. Because if they only look at one, they're going to say, well, wait a minute, they just approved something that has holes in it. Why'd they do that? And then they'll look the next week and say, oh, well, if they know to do that. That's my opinion.
Yeah, one thing, and as you know, we represent several municipalities. If we move it to next week, we table it for this week, move it to next week, what we would try to do is to have the developer execute the development agreement with the understanding that they do agree to the terms of the development agreement. As I mentioned, I have not had discussions with the developer personally. So I would like to make certain that before the county binds itself, that the developer is also in agreement as to the terms of the development agreement. As I mentioned, everything else that follows along is all really reflected in the development agreement. This is the contract. So if we're going to enter in a contract, we probably should have a meeting of the minds, and we can have the evidence of the meeting of the minds by having the developer sign the development agreement. We'll hold it in escrow until approval of the county. And then once we approve it, assuming that it's approved next week, then that effectively we would execute and release those signature pages. That is what I would suggest, along with what Wade has mentioned about not having to go to two different meetings.
I would agree 100% with all of that.
Sounds like the best thing to do is just move it to next week. I did make comments, I had no problem moving ahead is all we have, but from what's been stated here the last 5 minutes, it's, I think, to our advantage to move it to next week.
I agree.
Get all the blank lines plugged in, which we pretty well know what they are, will be, but they're still blank, so.
Yeah, it'd be a more complete document to be passing.
Do we need a motion to table this until next Monday?
You got any more you'd like to share with us, Greg?
I'm happy, no, I actually think that's a good decision, and it doesn't impact our timing at all, it doesn't slow us down on any progress, so I'm happy to see you take that action. But I'm also happy to answer any questions you have while I'm here, too.
Good.
So, the bonds, so are these bonds, is the county, just let's say for instance, there's a check that comes through for, a bill that comes in for $750,000. Does the county have to pay that bill up front before they receive the money from a bond?
No, we won't, no. The county will only disperse out of a project fund. So we sell the bonds, Citizen Bank buys them, puts money into a project fund, and they put it into a cost of issuance. When we close on the bonds, the cost of issuance funds will be paid out. The amount that's in the project fund will be sitting out there, and we will not be able to disperse unless and until there are eligible expenses associated with that project. So if they wanted to take and they said, hey, listen, we're going to improve our project site at Beto Junction, we say they don't have a project site as yet, but if they wanted to try to improve the project site at Beto Junction, we're like, no, it has to go into the project. The project is the airport project. So we will not be able to disperse those funds unless they're eligible expenses. And the county will not be in a position to disperse anything because it's all coming out of bond proceeds.
I just wanted to make sure of that.
Joe?
I was gonna ask if the commissioner, if it's your pleasure, I would recommend our county treasurer act as the disbursement agent to submit requisitions. To say, hey, this is a valid expense, I recommend the project fund pay these proceeds.
Will he know what a valid expense is on this project though? I mean, is there gonna be a list that,
Well,
not saying he's incapable, by no means.
I think Richard and I will be working together, absolutely. I think typically when we look at requisitions, we want to make certain that it complies with the law, and part of the law is, it's eligible. Also, we want to have lien waivers that are associated with those expenditures. I think Citizen Bank wants to make certain that the monies are going in the right direction. The other lenders will want to make certain it's going in the right direction, but understand, when the county sells their bonds, even though we're acting as what we call a conduit issuer, you are backing these bonds with your general obligation, with your full faith and credit. So therefore, we want somebody at the county, whether it's Richard or somebody else, to make certain that we reviewed it in conjunction with the advisors and approve that to submit it over to Citizen State Bank, which would be the disbursement agent, and they can then disperse. So, yeah, I mean, somebody at the county, because it is your backing, needs to be able to review those requisitions.
I'm feeling more comfortable every minute.
Your comment made more sense to me from the side of, it maybe I'm not understanding correctly, but when are bond and interest payments due? Isn't it the 1st of December this year?
So how we've sized this is, we've sized it to the dollar amount, $3.5 million. And so the special assessments are due and payable with taxes, but they're special assessments, they're not property taxes, they're special assessments. We sized it to a payment date of, what was it, March 1 and September 1. So the special assessments are due with property taxes. Property taxes billed in November, they come in December 20th and May 10th. So by the time they come in on December 20th, the payment date would be for that stub amount, would be March 1. And then when the May payment comes in, May 10th payment comes in, then they would debt service those bonds on September 1. The paying agent is actually handling that, although the county's remitting it to the paying agent with the instruction to debt service those bonds.
I understand, but when is the first payment due, and when are we collecting taxes first?
Yeah.
March, we time it so that the first payment is March 1, 2025. So you'll levy the assessments this fall. It goes through the tax collect, the first assessment will be due December 20th, 2024.
So we don't know any money, so.
Until it's basically in the account.
Until we start to collect the taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Does that make you feel more comfortable? Okay.
So one of the things maybe since to cap things off, the $1 million of exposure that the county has, and how does that work? And then the last thing is, because it's one of the motions, and it's unique to this particular project, special warranty deed, how is that an important feature of what the county is doing?
Yeah. So for the first question, the exposure, we have, there will be cost of issuance. So if we issue bonds, and let's assume we issue bonds, our cost of issuance, let's throw it out there at $200,000. I don't know if it's going to be that much or not, but our cost of issuance would be paid at the time that we issue bonds. If something happens and the project fails immediately thereafter, then the exposure to the county would be, hey, listen, you already paid advisors. So that's the roughly $200,000 exposure. The other thing that's unique in this situation is what we call an economic development assistance. Let me see where it is. And it's for $300,000. Let me see where it is. But yeah, it's 4.06 of the development agreement. It says the developer may apply for a bridge loan or line of credit with a local entity amount not to exceed $300,000. Subject to annual appropriation, the county agrees to offer this economic development as fund as collateral for such loan. So if they take a loan and they go out and get that $300,000 loan and decide that they're going to go to Mexico, we're backing that loan with economic development. So that's where that is. That's $500,000. The other $500,000 is if we issue bonds, we give them $500,000 of an initial draw off of that project fund for eligible expenditures. So let's say that they have eligible expenditures. They have $32,000 already of eligible expenditures and cost of issuance for land acquisition. Not cost of issuance, for land acquisition. So they have $32,000. They can draw up to $500,000 out of that project fund. And if they draw all that $500,000 and the project stalls, that's the other $500,000 of exposure. After that $500,000 is drawn on the project fund, then we look at all these other sources of fund, the B&I loan program, the Red Lake program, and we will not certify expenditures out of that project fund to be dispersed to the developer unless and until each one of the aggregate loan proceeds are what we call dispersed pari passu. For every dollar that is dispersed over here, it's eligible to disperse out of the project fund. Over here is the loan, construction loan, over here is the project fund. So So that's where that's roughly where the $1 million exposure comes in. The special warranty deed versus a general warranty deed, we believe it's commercially reasonable after visiting with my real estate partners that a special warranty deed is commercially reasonable in this instance. We offer them all the time. The lenders may want a general warranty deed. Right now, I've prepared a special warranty deed. A special warranty deed provides that we will warrant against any liens and encumbrances up until, from the time that we've owned the property going forward. A general warranty deed provides that we will warrant that deed, the title on that deed, until property, before the time that we own the property. We believe in this instance, although there may be title work that's going to be provided, that a special warranty deed is commercially reasonable in this instance. If in fact we get title work, we see the title work, and I can represent that a general warranty deed would be available, we'd have somebody in my real estate group review the title work. What that then does is it shifts any kind of liability over to the title insurance policy, to the title insurance. And so you would have coverage at that point in time. But right now it's presented as a special warranty deed. I don't know if these lenders are going to require a general warranty deed or not. But I wanted to bring that up. We'll work through that hopefully this week to see if it's necessary. And if it is a general warranty deed, then we would need time to review the title commitment and make certain that there's no additional exposure to the county.
So would the insurance just be for the $32,000 for the cost of the property?
Yeah.
That's all they're gonna guarantee?
That's right. That's right.
So that's not very...
I mean, generally, you size it to the value of land and improvements, but there aren't improvements, so
Right.
title insurance. But you could write it up, I mean, we could have upright, but it just it's costly to it. Yeah.
You understand my point?
$32,000 not much insurance. And I think honestly, I mean, we've done deals where almost all of the municipalities that we represent offer special warranty deeds. I don't think we ever have issued a general warranty deed, but if the lender is requiring it because of the size of the loans, then we would want to make certain we cover as best we possibly can. Again, we don't think there's, I mean, we would review it, make sure.
Anything on there, but, you know.
Yeah. We just never know until we see title work.
Right.
And, there are times that we've seen instances where they have some kind of restrictions on use. Sometimes you see dedication, this can only be used as a park. And so if you have restrictions on use, we want to make certain that that's cleared. But we have not seen title work on this, but I understand it's in the works. Yeah.
Maybe you mentioned it, just very briefly, and this is more for the public. If everything, worst case scenario, default. If there's a default, then what happens to the county and the counties?
Yeah.
How does that benefit the county, I guess?
So if the developer defaults, it kind of depends on where we are in the process. If we issue bonds, if the county issue bonds and we pay cost of issuance and nothing else happens, and let's assume that the county issues debt for $3.5 million and the cost of issuance is $200,000, and there's no other action, there's no building or construction of that facility, then that $3.3 million that's sitting in the project fund, because we've used $200,000 already at the date that we close the bonds to pay cost of issuance. The $3.3 million sitting in the project fund is that if there's no other action and it's a stalled project, then the county would direct that $3.3 million to be used to pay off the bonds. Go back to the bank and pay $3.3 million. You still are exposed to $200,000. You still have a special assessment levied on the property. If they fail to pay the special assessments, you can foreclose on the property. So that's one example. It's very similar in the event that let's say that they're halfway through the project and they decide that we're not going to go forward. Now, understand that this is pretty unlikely because they already have purchased equipment that's sitting in the county. But from my standpoint, and I always have to look at the worst case scenario, is what happens if they stall and it doesn't happen? Same thing goes, if we've already dispersed, let's say there's only $1 million that's remaining in the project fund and there's a stall in the project and it's not going forward. That $1 million would be used to pay off bonds. Same thing, we would ask that they pay the special assessments annually so that we could debt service the bonds on an annual basis. If they fail to pay the special assessments, then the county has foreclosure rights on that property. To take over the property, sell it, hopefully it's at least equal to the value, but it may not be equal to the value. That's situation number 2. Situation number 3 is, let's assume that they've finished the project. They've paid the special assessments for a couple of years and decide, we can't pay this special assessment. Then what happens? Well, there's no money going back to redeem bonds. We have a situation sitting over there that they owe the special assessments. If they fail to pay the special assessments, we would default them. Actually, the bond owner defaults them, but they default them, and we take over, and we would effectively try to foreclose on the property, eventually sell it, and at that point, it depends on the value of the sale, whether it's a full redemption of the bonds or a partial redemption of the bonds. Understand in that instance, if it's a partial redemption of the bonds, because these are geo-backed, that the county would have to come out of pocket to pay any deficit that's there. So, but the remedies in the event of default, and this is what it goes, if there's a default, depending on where they are, the county can refuse to approve further certifications of expenditures, disbursement requests, and not make any disbursements to the developer until such default is secured or cured. We could terminate the community improvement district, and we can terminate the development agreement. So those are the remedies in default. At one point, I believe I was down here and I said, hey, listen, we're going to put a right of reversion. If they default, it automatically reverts back to the county. We cannot do that because the lenders are too exposed. Again, we're exposed to $3.5 million. These lenders are exposed to $14 million. The county's exposed to $3.5 million through a private placement, but there are USDA loans that are higher, and they will not allow for that to happen. So we try to protect the county to the best we possibly can. It's not a right of reversion, but if there's a default, we still have foreclosure rights. Of default failure to pay special assessments, we still have foreclosure rights after we do a judicial or foreclose on those special assessments.
May I ask a question? So in that instance number 3, where the building's already constructed and they decide, this stuff isn't working out, and they just quit operations, and we trigger a local default, there's still a bank out there with a real big loan sitting out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not us.
That's it.
What are they going to do?
They're going to foreclose on that property.
But they're going to still own the property, right?
They would own yeah.
And what are they're still going to pay us tax, correct?
They would still be obligated to pay, well, they'll be paying taxes, but they'll be paying special assessments.
So the county would still be technically getting a premium or a return back on its.
Yeah,
probably.
More likely than not, yeah, more likely than not.
Because they're not
There's
gonna
always
wait.
instances, and you see it all over the state, where special assessments have not been paid. But yeah, I mean, assuming that the other lenders foreclose on the property, take control, now they're the owner, the special assessments is a covenant that runs with land, they are now obligated to make payments on the debt. If they make the payments on the debt, then we're not tapping the general credit of the county.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And so if that happens and they decide not to pay it, I sell it in a tax sale.
That's right.
We now have a building that we paid $3.5 million for that's worth $10, $12 million.
That's right. That's right.
And that would be the county's.
At that point, yeah, I mean, let's say it goes to the lender and the lender does it, and then they don't pay the special assessments, then we foreclose on the special assessments, then we would take control of the property, and then we do the county's property. Yeah.
Yes.
Chances are that wouldn't happen.
No, I mean.
These are as much work as everybody's going through, especially SSM, Kentucky people. The probability of this is minimal.
I mean, I cannot speak for
Very minute.
Yeah, I cannot speak for.
Want to make sure everybody's comfortable.
I could tell you that for them to purchase the equipment, I think the lenders, I can't speak for Greg, as Greg has been dealing with the lenders, but the fact that they have purchased the equipment and it's sitting in the county and we need a place to house it, and we're doing with Mr. Varnberg's diligent effort to get this structured, while it's complicated, I think people are getting more comfortable with it, and I would think that the likelihood of default would be relatively remote. I can tell you that I've seen crazier things and we've seen defaults, but I can assure you from what we gather and the information that we have, and the fact that they have purchased the equipment that's sitting in the county and they needed to house someplace is a really good talking point, and it's positive for this financing. I don't know if, Greg, if you have anything else to add in that respect.
What you doing? I have one question, if you don't mind. This is just for the continuance on some things I've heard from commissioners and the public. So you're involved with the financing. The county is proposing to move forward maybe next week with signing everything on its end of the equation. So there's these other entities that also have to close. You've been involved with the USDA financing and the Red Lake financing with the USDA group. Are you comfortable if you had, I know bankers can't just say provide a 100% guarantee, but if you had to apply a likelihood of success for them to close on the other two pieces, what would that be? High?
Yeah, I'd happy to address that, and it kind of ties into my comment I made with the commissioners earlier, that we've been working very closely with all of these programs, USDA, the Red Leg, BNI, CDBG. I mean, all of those pieces are coming together nicely, and the last two pieces that we have on the BNI piece are the feasibility study and the appraisal, and when we get those in hand, then I think I think we're already at a point where it's very likely that all of this comes together and closes, and like I said, the appraisal and the feasibility study are the last two pieces. And even then, the appraisal may just cause some numbers to be adjusted slightly, but other than that, it seems that we're on the downhill side, everything's coming together. And I think one of the things that I touched on earlier too is that we're trying to have this all be a simultaneous closing so that we don't have one piece that we close and still not know if the other pieces are going to fall in place. So yeah, everything looks very good at this point. There's been a lot of work to get it to this, to where we're at, and we're within striking distance of having the last two pieces we need to get all of this to fall in place. And again, I think at one point we were hoping that there would be the tail end of September. Now it's maybe looking like the first couple of weeks of October. So, that answer your question. And I might also add, I don't mean to correct Joe on something, but he was using a ballpark estimate on the cost of issuance for the GEO bonds. By going through a direct placement with the local bank, we saved tremendously on the cost of issuance. I would say that our cost of issuance estimate is probably closer to $50,000 than $200,000. We waived our fee on those issues. We don't have a rating fee. We don't have some of the public offering expenses that you would have. And so it's really, we did that to minimize the financing costs, and that in turn minimizes your exposure as well.
Give you money to play with. Hold my feet.
Tom, we just need to let him keep talking.
Yes, getting better and better.
Yeah, that's what I say. I read over the weekend. I'm understanding a whole lot more, and thank you guys very much for all your time and effort. Like I say, I've got full faith in all three of you.
Yeah.
You just
want to understand the
way
best you
comfortable.
can.
I'm more than happy. So.
And I do appreciate those comments very much, so thank you.
And the local bank.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Y'all don't trust our treasurer?
And the treasurer, yeah, I guess we'll throw him in there too.
I thought that guy went without saying when they put him in charge of disbursement of funds.
Yeah. I'll move. So back to my original question, do we need to make a motion to table these motions? Do we need to make a motion to table the?
I guess they're officially in the book, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I'll make a motion to table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 motions until next week. Is that correct?
The blanks will be filled in
And the blanks will be filled in at that time.
before now and then, or by then.
We'll work to our best effort to make certain we get everything filled in, so it will be in final form for approval.
that's what time on the docket?
I was trying to see if I could look forward, and I couldn't see next week's, when the,
So the public meeting's at 10, if I remember right.
We wanna go after that.
Yeah. The public hearing test starts at 10 o'clock and then
Yep.
after that, so. So I moved.
I second.
Moved by Knight, second by Meats to table the motions. Set the motions that were on for 10 o'clock. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motions will be tabled until next Monday at, I don't know, 11 o'clock-ish probably.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys
Thank you
for
for all your.
trying to bring more light to our dim world, I guess.
It helped immensely.
Have you ever,
It really did.
you ever felt like a mushroom? I'm feeling like one.
I hope not.
I was this morning.
How would you say, uh-oh, what's going on? But anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, stop, Pete.
I left my bag downstairs.
I'll walk it down there.
See you again.
Hey Wade, are we going to, we're gonna recess for the lunch? Cause we got round table.
Are you coming back?
Yep. Probably so.
Come back at 1.
How long does the lunch go to?
We better make it 1:30.
The eating time, I was 11:30 to 1.
We better make it 1:30.
11:30 then.
1:30. See you, Joe. Thanks again.
All right, I guess we will recess until 1:30.
May I ask the commissioners one more thing? Well, I spoke with Wade lightly, but he knows what I'm referring to when I say this, and I think some of you do too. If the first part of October, the commissioners could keep an eye on not loading your agenda too heavy in the first 2 weeks of October, that would be great, because you're probably going to need it. Just guessing.
Some of this needed turned into a 1 o'clock work session. Let's do it that way.
That's what
I
was.
mean, just like today, it was designed for 30 minutes and we took up an hour and 15 minutes.
Pushes us all back.
I mean, which is fine. I mean, we didn't have anything present, but I don't want to schedule somebody in after what you're trying to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
And be rushing through it, because this
We gotta get
open
back.
conversation and everything we did today was very, very, very helpful for me.
I would say if you saved your afternoons pretty much for work session,
I
that'd
don't
be
have a
great.
problem with it. My entire Mondays are saved for this.
Yeah.
You never know, sometimes your regular business goes beyond down into the.
Yeah, the
That's
lunch
true.
2 o'clock.
It does sometimes.
But if you're wanting heavy conversation and to need a lot of time, let's just make it a 1 o'clock work session deal. I mean, if we can move it up, we can move it up, but if not, at least we know it's 1 o'clock Monday afternoon, and you have us for the rest of the afternoon.
Yes, sir. Very good.
Work. Thanks, Bobby. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
Appreciate it.
All right. We're gonna recess at 11:12 until 1:30. Typically, those work sessions, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Didn't know. All right, we're back from our picnic. Oh, Employee Appreciation Day.
Yeah.
I'd like to say thank you to everybody that contributed and helped out with that. It took a lot of bodies to put that on.
Nice get together.
A lot of effort went into it.
Insecure.
On my
Wi-Fi network is insecure.
I'm insecure.
I
I don't think it's let me back on, I'll just write it down.
That's all right. Thank you.
Yes.
I can log in.
It's still just giving me error message. Oop, I've been locked.
Well,
Whatever.
get your big chief notebook and your crayon,
I got
right?
my crayon right here. I don't know,
Old
something
school way.
came
Old
here
school.
the other day.
All right, I guess we'll start with round table with Mr. Wade. Louis.
Couple things, behind the scenes, several different, projects are going on related to the courthouse and the building. One of those tied to the irrigation, the other tied to landscaping around the courthouse. So Barb has made contact with several different entities to have them come out and walk the perimeter of the courthouse to get an idea of what the county wants, what is feasible, and then provide an estimate. So as I've indicated before, I'm just a conduit, you guys make the decision. So I'm coming before you right now with an option, and if at all possible, when these landscapers come and walk the courthouse, Barb works with my schedule, I show up, and Tom shows up too. So what I have sitting in front of me is an option for a border going around the east and north of the courthouse where the majority of the landscaping needs exist. And these are landscaping rocks that would form a border or a perimeter just on the outside of where the existing rock is, where they did the sealant, DC Solutions. And it would form a nice border going all the way up to these east courthouse doors, and then all the way around the other side, but it would be in a way where it would look nice, I guess that's the best way.
So they would be standing on this end, or will they be laying down?
Would look just like that. That top one's a cap and the other one's a block. So like when you get on the north side, you might see a couple blocks, maybe 3, and then have the cap.
Might vary in height wherever they're needed then.
Well, like over here on the east side, because that waterproofing membrane they put on the north side is pretty much one elevation, but when you come down the east side, it jumps up because the ground jumps up. So the last gentleman we spoke with is just gonna go and then a stair step down. It'll go and a stair step down until it gets to that elevation on the northeast corner, and be the same elevation the entire distance to the west end of the courthouse, with a tapered wall, if you will, going out to the north, because when you bring in the dirt to make everything get positive flow away, that's going to be needed over there. Plus, he's going to decorate up around the air conditioner area.
Is that gonna be a little temporary wall just inside the sidewalk? Or where you
It's going to be 3 feet out from the front of the courthouse.
Okay.
The face of that brick will be 3
So
feet out.
It's not out next to the sidewalk?
No, it's just 3 feet out so that we can bring dirt in and
Yeah.
make a positive slope out to the sidewalk. And then the irrigation can go in and then we can see it.
So it'd be rock behind it.
Yeah,
Between
but
it and the
decorative rock.
No question, dress it up a little.
And give us some positive slope there.
Positive
Gives us
slope
water
at the same
flow
time.
right
If you look
there.
over here on the east side, it just, everything dives to that one window, and we'll eliminate all that. This will eliminate all that.
So what I've handed you is the actual book with what it looks like, as an example,
Got the thinner ones on top.
just so you have an idea of
Yeah.
what we're looking at.
Like I say, by the time you bring the dirt up, you may not see as many of those blocks as you think.
Yeah.
Several are needed just to get it up there.
Make a barrier from your decorative rock to your dirt.
Yes.
Basically.
And one of the other things that's gone on behind the scenes is a feedback from DC Solutions on the warranty for the waterproof, because we don't want to impact that. And at least initially, the feedback is this won't impact the waterproofing. So that's going to be explored a little bit more in detail if we can get somebody here in person and then have them look at exactly what we're looking at doing for this area and getting something in writing.
So if we have to, I mean, let's just say hypothetically, if we have to, we put the wall up, and then the courthouse starts leaking again. They're gonna have to take the wall out to go back and seal it again.
Yep.
which is gonna cost way more.
The waterproofing came with a several year warranty though.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it's warranted, so that's why we don't wanna compromise that warranty.
Okay. But if we put something in there to obstruct them going back in to fix it, which would cost them more to go in and fix it, they might not.
Well, that's why we have to, these are layered phases to make sure that exactly what you're talking about isn't an issue. Initially, they've indicated that putting rock on top of rock isn't gonna solve anything. But
I believe their letter said it had to be 3/4 clean rock or larger. Can't be any smaller than 3/4 or something like that.
So the water will travel.
Yeah.
Lateral, basically, it's a lateral.
Yeah. But my preference is, kind of like Joe Serrano said this morning, I'm the worst case scenario thinker, and it's kind of like what do you do when you're on a train and a bear shows up, but you gotta have a plan. So I want to know if this is what gets put in, how they will react. Right. They may react the same way, and if that's how they react, then we're good to go. But we've not had any water, so without any water, the patch has not been fully tested. And as everybody knows right now, with the way the ground's moving, all kinds of things underground seem to be compromised, at least right now. So you get a good rain, and that may just open it up even more. So, but for right now, I at least want you to know what's going on. And Tom, I think this is option 2, because it's Crestone, and Crestone referenced in option 2.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually the lesser of the 2. There were 2 options. Barb gets a lot of credit for this because I gave her specific things that she needed to do before I was comfortable bringing it before you. She's done all of those things. She called several different entities to see if they were interested. Several indicated they weren't. One local indicated that they were. Came out, indicated that they just didn't have the time or bandwidth to deal with it right now, because the preference is to go local if you can. So we have an estimate for the wall and cap for $9,500. And then there's a phase 2 that would be layered for rock and dirt. But that would cover everything. And then the irrigation would be a whole nother entity.
That 9,800, that's installation of all that.
So that includes the rock then?
95 plus 48.
13 something.
Okay.
We're about
Okay.
$14,000.
And then,
Pardon?
About 14 grand.
another 35 for seeding. So I don't know if you do the seeding, that's something separate. I think that might be tied to the irrigation side, in my opinion. I don't know what you think, Tom.
No, we gotta get the irrigation in before we do any seeding, so. You need the dirt in, this landscaping done before you do the irrigation, so.
Yeah.
To get the heights right on the heads. But I love the way Barb described it, but the lower price one was like a hollow block, and that's not a hollow block, so I just wanna make sure we're all on the same page there.
So what's in the book looks exactly like this, right?
Yeah.
And it's Crestone, and option 2 is same wall, but with Crestone.
Okay. So do they show a picture that has a hollow block there?
I don't think you can buy that in a hollow block.
I'll just
I've never seen
ask
that.
it, maybe it could be.
She said it was a lighter weight block, that's pretty heavy duty, so.
But it may be made out of, well, they make 16-inch concrete blocks, they can make it out of lighter
That's
It's made out of
building.
haydite.
Haydite, yeah,
But
haydite.
that's not haydite. I don't know.
No, that's not as heavy as that is. But if they can make it haydite, it might even be a plus. What's the depth of those two rocks? Are there areas where that base rock's gonna be 3, 4, 5 blocks high because of the unevenness of the dirt?
Yes. But by the time you bring dirt up to get positive drainage, you're not gonna see all those blocks.
Yeah, where those blocks are 4, 5, 6 deep, is the dirt below it packed enough where it won't settle 2 or 3 inches and you get an uneven?
What we did is, or I did anyway, is I measured the width of their trench when they waterproofed it. And if you set the face of that block in 3 feet off the building, it's all of it setting on their worst rock that they put in. None of it will be setting on dirt.
Okay.
From my eye, and I believe Wade and Barbara was with me at the same time. I walked around with a tape measure to make sure 3 foot was correct and adequate. So like I say, they've got, 5 or 6 feet, 7 feet of rock
If it's setting on
in
rock,
there. It should.
setting on rock, it's
stand.
probably settled down.
Well, that's the way they install those. They take the dirt out and they create a bed of clean rock, level it, and then they start laying their face course. So basically, the clean rock's already like there. All they just got to do is establish the elevation they want to start with. So, and that price does include, like I said, it's going to go around the air conditioner pad as well, and they create window wells to keep the other rock back. So, I think it should really help.
They're going all the way from this sidewalk to the northwest corner. I'm surprised they're gonna do that from 90 feet.
So it's approximately 320 feet of wall, 1 foot high on north and east side of the building.
Okay.
That's sort of the parameters.
I'm a little bit surprised they're doing it for that price.
So I need to double check and make sure the rock that because I'm not a rock expert. It looks like what's in here, but I have two different samples in my office.
That's a lot of rock compressed into one.
Yeah. So right now I'm passing on to you the information so you can digest it. The person who has put in the estimate for the county was recommended by someone, and just for your edification, walking around with them and listening to him and how he dealt with things, I think he appears to know what he's doing. In my opinion, I don't know what you think, Tom.
Yeah, he seemed very conscientious, was very concerned about appearance and, putting his name on it, how it was going to look.
And someone at the local level referred Barb to this individual, so.
Actually, he's one of the people that we call for a price from. So.
Yeah, so I'll bring the other rock in once I'll transition to something else, but I'll bring the other rock in and maybe I'm looking at it wrong.
So are we okay as far as bids or whatever?
I think we went out and exercised those options, and I think we can.
We're good.
Yeah.
Get that wall up and grass in front of it, it'll address the courthouse stuff.
That's for sure.
Well, part of that for sure.
Yeah.
I need to request two different executive sessions, so I don't know if you want to go around the world and come back, or go ahead and.
Go ahead and knock them out.
Okay.
The lengths you're thinking. I set one for 20.
Yep, I was gonna say 20, so.
We're on the same page.
Yeah. Request a 20-minute executive session, myself and the board, attorney-client, and the basis is to discuss potential legal action relating to a county contract.
The board and yourself,
Yep.
20 minutes.
I'll so move. Second that.
Moved by Meeks, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We will enter at 1:49. It's 1:46 now. Can't get, you need these kind of shoes.
I'm gonna have to.
How long is this one?
20?
Everybody's gonna have to exercise more. You guys come upset, eating hard and everything.
Puffing and puffing.
So we're back from that executive session, no action being requested at this time. Request executive session number 2, I think we need a scribe to memorialize what's happening for our county.
The lady from the hospital brought those letters and flyers and asked me to put one out for each of you.
So Brad, the summary, no action being requested from this last executive session. And then there's a request now to go into another executive session. Same people, same underlying grounds, attorney-client, but a different subject matter, that subject matter being to discuss potential legal issues regarding a subordinate board to the county.
How long?
20 minutes.
I'll move. I'll second. Moved by Knight, seconded by McCurry, 20-minute exec session, the board and the attorney. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. We'll enter at 12:15 for 20 minutes. 2:15? Or 2:15, sorry, 2:15.
Trying to save our afternoon.
Alright.
We're back. For today's purposes, no action is being requested. Outside of that, that's all I have for today.
Been plenty busy. Steve, do you have anything for roundtable?
I don't, right now, no.
Don?
I don't have anything. I had one thing that come up, and we've already discussed that there this morning.
Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, same way with me, I had something brought up to me, but that was the wall, and that's already been covered, so retaining wall.
Mr. Huguet?
Other than having a crosswalk on the west end of the parking leading over to the west side of the courthouse before November when they break ground.
Do we need to put that
I
up?
know Wade said something about maybe a drawing or something, but I never went that far with it, I guess. I can't really draw. I can show you a standard detail what a handicap ramp's supposed to be like. I mean, it's in representative what's already out there. So that's all I'm asking for is just because a couple of employees have asked me if there was going to be a crosswalk at that end, so.
I think we need one.
I had a discussion with, I don't remember who earlier, but Burlington Construction's not looking for work to do right now. We're plenty busy. We could probably squeeze it in and get it done, but I'm not trying to create work for me. I'm
This,
just,
this is something we brought up 2 or 3 times in the past. I think we need to go ahead and do what needs to be done.
and I don't know if there's another entity we can call for a price. I just threw out an estimate. I mean, I haven't, have I sat and measured it, put a pencil to it? No, but I just, by looking at it and knowing what the city paid for this other one across the street, it's well within that range of what I said.
Seems like all of us realize it needs to be done. I think the main thing is just take steps and do it.
Well, and like I say, again, Mark Davison with the city said the crosswalk would angle over to where the handicap stall is there in the parking lot on the north side now, to where that can create a pathway to get to the sidewalk, to get into.
Right out of a handicap vehicle.
Yeah.
The city did the last one. That, they just did one here recently.
Catty corner.
A crosswalk, you mean?
Yep. The pricing that you're talking about?
Oh,
You referred to one.
there's the northeast corner of Neosho and Sixth here. The city had Brighton Construction do those 2 new ADA ramps and curb. And after seeing what they were billed, which my son created that invoice, if you will, that's right in, what I said for an estimate on that's right in line.
That's gonna be similar, because it's gonna be 2.
Well, no, it'll
ramps,
be one. It'll just be one. So that's why I say it'll be under 5,000.
Okay, I understand.
Because that was, it was 2 handicap ramps and a piece of curb. All we're doing over there is taking out 10 feet of curb, transition it down and create a handicap ramp, and pouring concrete in that island.
But we won't need
Concaving
something.
it, if you will.
But we're not gonna need something on this side of the street?
No, it'll come diagonally over to, the first stall on the north parking lot in front of the courthouse, if you will, is a handicap stall for a vehicle. And next to it is, what is that, 8 foot wide of that blue marking.
Okay.
So what the city's gonna do is line up with that and diagonal over to that handicap ramp.
Okay.
And paint 2 lines to where there's a crosswalk, plus they're gonna put up one of those
Lights.
lights where you hit
Flashing
the
lights,
button and it flashes.
And there's a ramp out of that parking spot to the sidewalk then?
On this side.
Mhm. On this
Okay,
side.
okay, I understand now.
On this side, yeah. We just
Okay.
need one on
I
that
thought
side.
we needed it on both sides, but just
No,
on
just
the-
need one on that side,
Okay,
just
very good.
to create a crosswalk. I mean,
Yeah, well, that should be.
and the city would like to see it handicap accessible. That, I mean, kind of discussion Mark Davison and I had, I mean, if there was somebody in a wheelchair that did have to park over there for whatever reason, they could go down to that crosswalk, come across and be fine.
So the city's gonna have to pay for the light.
They'll pay for the light and the striping, all we gotta do is put in the ramp and
So could it be a package deal where the county agrees to pay for that part of it, and it goes through the city, and then the city, or the county will contribute up to $5,000?
that's not, never thought of that, that's an idea.
Then that way it keeps it out of
Oh,
the, having to make those decisions here, then it's a city project, the county's just contributing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I can mention that to Mark.
Okay.
I think it's agreeable with everyone, isn't it?
yeah, I just think we need to go ahead and do it. I mean, like I say, Tom's brought it up 2 or 3 times, and
Yeah.
we just need to go ahead and
Well,
get it done.
now that it's going out for bids and you're talking groundbreaking in the middle of
Right.
November, it's 2 months away.
Right. We need to go ahead and just get it done. Well, and isn't that curb and that island isn't that city property? Isn't that part of the city, is that part of the city easement
Yeah, it'd be
up in
considered.
there? So, I mean,
This side, the street edge of the sidewalk is city property, or, no, actually, the back edge of the sidewalk is city property,
so all the diagonal parking that we put in on the north side of the street is city property.
as well as that sidewalk.
So I don't see why the city couldn't go through and say, hey, we want a wheelchair ramp here, and just like Wade's saying, turn around and we'll kick the money in for the concrete work and Yeah, I like that a lot better.
Okay.
That'd be better, probably.
I'll mention that tomorrow.
I think it's a smoother
Right.
situation.
Then maybe get on there
Issue.
when their next agenda, Mark always knows.
We just met, so,
They met
20th.
20th.
Okay.
I should be returned by then.
All right, that all we have?
Other than Wade Rock the retaining wall, which is cool, I know Barb's anxious to get going on that.
Yeah.
Turn that out.
You want me to bring in the other block so you can see? Sure, I'm not.
That's fine. We can,
Brad probably has
Brad
several updates.
probably has something.
One thing I had, speaking of lights, is I noticed this weekend that the street light in front was not working.
Out here?
Yeah, the light on the flag was not on. I think we have a light on the flag, but the street light right in front main entrance was not on all weekend. I don't know if they hit something when they were redigging. You know, we had a gusher out there in the water line or something that they hit when they were doing something, I don't know.
I could have noticed it down there.
Oh, again, tonight, but it was off all weekend. I just noticed, went for a walk and came up and looked this way and it was just pitch black over the building. I don't know, Jesse, we got this list that's on the Canva, is that any of those things?
The can-do list?
Yeah, the two.
That's all.
Hey, that's all,
That's what
that's
I
what they're
was trying to
talking,
get
that's
at
what they're
before,
talking
was
about.
that,
Oh, okay.
was that could be, maybe it wasn't. I would realize it open to the bottom.
I didn't realize it was on from the bottom, that was sure open.
That's what he was talking about then.
That's solid. That's solid rock.
I know he
That's
suggested the solid rock as opposed to the hollow one,
Really?
is what he told Barb.
I'd say.
Which one's cheaper, the
The hollow one.
hollow?
This one. Got a nicer look to it, in my opinion. Than just,
I'm sure you could get that one in other colors. I'm sure.
I bet you can get this one here.
I do not remember what he said about the hollow block. Barb probably does.
Afraid water will get up and cause an issue or something?
I don't remember what it was, I really don't.
We got the SEK meeting, Columbus, did anybody figure out going down there? September 14th,
Thursday.
this Thursday?
I can't.
I can't either.
My dispatcher's gonna be gone Friday, so there's no way I can be gone.
You need a day to prime for that, don't you?
Yes, I need a day to prime for that.
That's how that works, just show up in the morning.
It don't work very good, does it?
We got an appointment out of town that day, but I could probably change it.
I can't switch my schedule.
I need to back up. I forgot about one thing, Jesse.
Okay.
When I got my email Friday afternoon about the everything's gonna take place today, it's under the meeting, it says meeting, time or something, but it didn't come up on mine. I was wondering, the rest of you, did yours come up on your phones or however you get that?
I get it on my email at the office, and so, I mean, you've got your agenda, and then you got the meeting link she sends,
The
and
meeting
all.
link did not show up on mine. It showed up, but it wouldn't bring
Wouldn't
nothing
go
up,
nowhere.
because it was only, there wasn't even a line there for that meeting link.
Mine was the same way, so I just went to the last email with the last meeting link, clicked on it, and it came up.
Okay.
You can go back to the previous.
Go back? I've got them all wiped out, but I can go back in the trash and get it.
Yes, that's what I
So
did.
you're saying that link wasn't live or just?
Correct.
Mine wasn't live.
It wasn't a big deal, but like I said, I just went
Well,
back
it'd
to
be
trash.
convenient though to have it actually work.
Yeah.
So that'd be good.
It always says medium link, and it always,
Yeah.
this is the first time, and it never came up.
Well, she sent it to me just on desktop, and I've never had any trouble, but I've never tried to open it on my phone.
I've never had any trouble until Friday.
I was on my laptop and it wouldn't open either, but
Really?
again, I just went back to the previous week that was in my trash bin and clicked on that link
And it brought up,
This meeting.
today's deal.
Yep.
I give Casey like
But they could have revisions, would be the difference, right?
It's a live document every
It's a live
week.
document every week, so you can just go click on the previous one, it should come up this week.
The updated.
Oh, I see
for
what
this
you mean.
week.
The link is.
The link itself
Will
is,
be for the next week. I
Yeah.
thought you meant the preliminary one,
No.
like they send sometimes.
No.
They send the
I got that
first
agenda,
agenda or whatever,
Yeah, the agenda number 1 through
Yeah.
10.
I got that
Open
preliminary one.
those. I just wait for the link to come up on Friday morning.
Yeah.
We'll look at that and see if there's some reason that it's not. Yeah, I don't know, because I said I know it came through on my desktop email and took me right to it, so.
Well, I thought
I
it was
tried on my
something by
phone.
computer, so he said something.
Um,
But usually when it's on there, you can tell it's a live link,
Like
and it
lights
comes
up
up
or
blue.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
This was just solid black, and it's like, what the heck, so that's when I went back.
All right.
Yeah.
But we clicked on that
We
one,
can
and come
look
up
at
this
that
week,
and
this
see if
was
there's
just
an issue.
today's meeting.
Thank you.
And the only problem I have is that format on that link on my phone prints out small enough I can barely read it. Like it won't let you blow it up on that format, or on my phone it won't, but.
That's why I have a laptop.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I have anything for roundtable. I do know the heater's ordered for the Bailey property for the swimming pool. I'm hoping that it gets installed this week. Get Turk driving over, checking the pool level. Make sure it's not gushing out of the heater, so.
Yeah, it's too cold to jump in.
Well, it's probably getting about the right temperature now.
The heater's been on, hasn't it?
Yeah, that one's been off, but the Mother Nature heater's been on full
Yeah.
blast.
Yeah.
My pool's pretty cool, I closed it.
I don't think I have anything for, more for roundtable. I'm hoping to have a contract from SSM for the leasing of the property, I hope. Hopefully this week. It's supposed to be sent to you as well. So, the way it can be, I'm sure there's going to be some Kansas, I don't know if they're going to include Kansas laws or rules in it. I would assume probably not, but I don't know.
I don't know if we want our, venue to be in Kentucky.
Right, well, true that.
The choice of law, Kentucky, that doesn't benefit us very much.
It might be harsher though. So, if nobody has anything else, do we need to pick brick?
I mean, that's your call. Are you ready to?
Are we ready to pick brick? Do we want the solid or do we want the hollow? Do we want the solid with the color of the hollow one?
It looked like in that catalog, there's different colors of that.
I'm sure
Maybe.
so.
I just like the looks of that, but maybe the color doesn't match our building the best.
Yeah, I can't,
Sounds like maybe a decision for like barb or a woman's touch.
Well, it was, the hollow block was 9,500, the solid block was 12, right? And we see if she wants to come up, because she asked me if her block got okay today.
The solid one's 3,000 greater.
Yeah.
Are they got about the same weight, or can you tell them when you lifted them up?
If she's available, she could
Solid
tell us
little.
what they said,
It
maybe,
looks like that hollow one's a cobalt.
why they didn't like. why they-
that's what it said on the bottom side of it.
It did say cobalt.
Bottom side.
I'm saying, it looks like. There's 8 different colors you get.
Is that Western stone? Yeah, yeah.
The cheaper Menards brand, but, well.
Well, they've got that color there, don't they? Is it that the same color as the other one?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm looking at the solid block.
This is the one it is.
That's that one, right?
Yeah. Look, what it looks like. Cause all these other
I think
pretty
that's
straight.
the one, the hollow
Yeah.
block is what you're looking at. That's what this book is. I'd have to look at Wade's quote, but I don't need to look at this.
And that's Tom, there's quote.
Maybe these books are the same.
I bet you this.
Lesser quality block is the Creststone.
Yes, this is Western Stone.
The Belgard Western step wall is more expensive one. One's 12, one's 95.
This is Belgard.
Okay, I see it right one then.
That says
You want-
Belgard right there. But they have different colors.
Correct.
That's a black diamond.
But, so the deal is, I don't remember what he said about the lesser quality block. It's like it moves around or something, I don't know.
So the,
Petersburg, Indiana.
I don't wanna tear up the
Yes.
surface of
I asked her if she could come up real quick, but
I think that color would match the building better, but do you want it to be a different color? And make it look like limestone rock, you know what I mean? I mean, this is brick color out here. It's red, right? Reddish.
it's kinda like that there.
So would you wanna go with an accent, do the accent, do this in a lighter color? To make it stand out, look nicer.
I believe what's gonna be asked of us is if we wanna go with the higher quality of block or the lower quality. But I don't remember what his concerns was about the lower quality block, the hollow block. I don't remember what those were.
Come on, Dave. Come on in, Barb. We know you've been working hard today.
Okay, what can I do for you?
So, there was concern Clement had about the cheaper blocks, the hollow blocks. What was those?
For one thing, you can't, permission to enter.
Yeah.
Sure.
You have.
They're hollow, so when you go around the corners, you can't really cut them, and these are gonna last forever. They're more durable. He said this is more a residential brick, and this is more commercial.
So the solid.
Yeah, but these are,
Right.
and you can, I mean,
But
when
you
you,
can cut those to form, yeah,
That's what it was. In order to go around a corner, you gotta cut them, and you
okay,
can't cut them.
and
Okay.
he said,
yeah.
if that's what you wanna go with, he said, we can make it work, it's just gonna look a lot better with the other brick, and he did say, you know, if he's gonna put his name on it, he would like it. You can tell he takes pride in what he does.
But we can get the solid block and that other color.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Is Citadel another color, the solid ones?
Yeah, I think there was a mark on there.
We've got a
which-
book here,
Okay,
we've got a
which
book
one's
here.
which, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say that this book is solid
Solid
stone, the solid block, and this book is probably the hollow.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause that should be a Creststone.
Yes, Creststone, yes.
He's got the solid block
Yep.
there.
My suggestion was that we let a lady like yourself pick the color. So it
Well-
would match or accent
And
one
I'm
or
good
the
with
other.
that.
He
I was-
did.
I'm kinda towards the different color, the limestone look versus the brick look, because it's gonna act as an accent.
Which I'm sure he's not opposed to. But he did say if we could, I'm not pushing anybody, but if we could let him know he could get the retaining wall in, he could get the dirt work done, then the sprinkler guy can be not very far behind him and we can get it seated. And he did break all those bits up.
We got those, right.
So,
So your taste of what you think would look better out there is which color?
I'm pretty rustic just by nature. I would go, but You guys can just whatever you want. Whatever you think, as long as you think, let's get it done. That's what I
Well,
think.
we're kind of thinking that that's what
Okay.
we need to do.
Okay.
But I think we need to go with the solid block,
But the
which is gonna
solid
be more
block, so-
expensive.
Yeah.
But what color do we want the solid?
I'd rather have a little color to it than just that
Okay.
straight gray.
Okay, so we could go with,
That's,
that same color in the solid block, I believe,
Or close.
or close to it,
So,
which would be an aspen blend.
your thought?
Okay, I think that'd be an aspen blend.
That's what it says.
Okay.
You're welcome to come take a look.
I'll let you have the vote.
You know what the outside of the building looks like
Right.
better than we do. Pick one color and we're going with the
Solid.
the solid block.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which takes $12,000, you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So now all you gotta do is pick a color.
Okay. And I can tell him shake and bake.
Or if I'm correct, all she's gotta do is pick a color and we done tell her which
We gotta
block.
make a motion.
You gotta make a motion.
Just sit back.
Need that, don't need that.
Okay. Okay,
Wade can read out the motion.
please. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you. Bye.
enough of that, huh? She's already down the hallway.
Had enough of that. She's
Not a
anxious to
fan.
get it going, I know that.
Yep. Not a fan of coming in.
Being on camera.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to go with the solid block in the amount of $12,000 even for landscaping block around the east and north perimeter of the courthouse.
It'll be easier if you read option one, who it is, it's retaining wall project.
Motion, option one, approximately 320 feet of wall, 1 foot high on the east and north side of the building. This wall would be built with Belgard Western Wall and caps for $12,000. I move.
Based on the,
Estimate from Scenic Landscape?
Yes.
Scenic Landscaping, Westphalia, Kansas.
then funds to come from,
Courthouse General, wasn't it?
Courthouse General, I think.
and I think it's already been discussed several times. The intent was to get several other entities to provide input or provide bids, including a local entity. That local entity came last week and indicated that although they would be interested, their schedule would not be time permitting to get the job done. And others were not interested in doing so. So this was the bid that was presented, and this process has been ongoing for several months. What do you say, Tom?
Courthouse General.
We've been trying to figure out someone to come in and give us an idea of what it would look like for several months now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and getting there, I mean, Barb's been searching, I mean, I know she's called 5 or 6 different people.
Okay.
And this is the only one that's actually came and said, yeah, it's the price, and I'd say I've met him, he seems very conscientious. I'm not concerned in the least, and again, one of the persons she called recommended this gentleman, so.
What'd you say the address was?
Westphalia.
And what's his name?
Clement?
1695 Zurich Lane.
And his name is Clement? Clement Burkholder.
Burkholder. Yeah, I don't know why it couldn't come out of courthouse general.
You made the motion, Janice. Yeah, I moved it. I seconded it. Moved by Knight, seconded by McCurry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. One step closer to being done.
Thank you, Wade.
Thanks, Wade.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Tom.
You do have an exercise, do you guys do an exercise next Wednesday? Emergency exercise on the
We-
practice round?
Practice round, I believe so.
Set the 20th. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I said that out loud, so in case anybody forgot. Yeah, the 20th. I might.
You said you was gonna be gone, or you got surgery, but you're gonna be out of town.
I may or may not.
Okay.
It's on what, next Wednesday?
Yeah.
Next Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, you seem to be back for city,
Yeah.
for the city meeting,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
And the clerk should be back next.
She's attending state mandated election officer training. They decided that they couldn't prove that they were providing training, so they made everybody in the state go. If you've been there 20 minutes or 20 years, you gotta go.
Yeah, she might know how.
So,
You gotta go meet you.
anyway, refresher course to prevent
It
fraud.
doesn't hurt anybody.
Speaking of training, I'll be in training next week, but I will be available by phone, and I will have the resolution, whatever number that is, ready to go for next week. And I will have it done to Serrano to have it reviewed ahead of time to make sure it's in line with what his documents say.
We'll be without Wade, other than on the phone call.
I will be here in spirit.
I mean, again, today's discussion with Serrano and Greg, you know, it was a 30-minute slot, if you will, but it took us close to an hour and a half. So I'd really like to see that stuff go to,
Afternoon.
be the last on the list.
Yep.
Yeah. So that way we're not pushing somebody, road and bridge back, or whoever. A lot of discovery was done in that hour and a half that, I mean, I read over the weekend, read it again, it was a lot of pages. Soon I started hearing Charlie Brown's Teacher in my head, wah, 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 wah. Exactly. And it's like, so when they, you know, after speaking with them and hearing everything, it brought it all to surface and made way more sense, and I fill in the blanks, way to be comfortable, I'll be comfortable.
Yeah, that was a good deal. We waited and waited.
Yep, I think so too. I don't wanna just jump into it,
That was an awful good hour and a half.
It was.
I don't
I
wanna
know
come
my
back.
comfort level's always been high with Greg and Joe and Wade, and
Mhm.
that's just another hour and a half that makes everything
It's a little
hot.
more informed.
Yeah.
Understanding something like
We
that.
had a good team that's working together, and it just moves our comfort level up every time we're involved with it.
Yeah, right.
It also allows for that discussion to happen, so everybody who's watching on YouTube saying, what are all these things that are going on? They're not just words on a piece of paper, they come to life, they have meaning, and so when somebody asks any one of you, you're not attorneys, you don't have all know all the nuances in the law, you can explain it the best you can, but you can always refer back to the meeting and say, we had Joe Serrano, and we had Greg Varenberg, and we had Bobby Skipper. Everybody explain what each one of these things is, so you can better understand it. I recommend you go back to at 10 o'clock or 10:20 on today's date. You can get a whole lot more information, and your comfort level will be eased to know that these are all the steps that are in place. This is the exposure the county has. This is how it works and operates. Because if somebody asks me, I'd probably refer them to this video.
Right.
They can explain it a whole lot better than I can and do it in a short period of time.
That went over a lot of points pretty quick.
Yeah, I think our discussion then started at 10 o'clock. Because it's 11:30 when we get to the start at 10.
Let it rain.
It ran pretty good. Let it keep
I tell you what, it's all the way back west, still west of Wichita, 100 miles, so.
Good deal.
Well, if nobody has anything else, we can adjourn at 3:09.